welcome to another episode of Fit and Healthy with Petya. Today's topic is fats, types of fats, and how do they work in the body. As you can see, I have already filled in here some information, so I'm going to go over it and explain what exactly does all this mean. So we have two major types of fats, saturated and unsaturated. The unsaturated are also two types, mono and poly. With the saturated fats, as you can see here, I have drawn a carbon molecule, and each carbon molecule is connected to a carbon molecule. And as you can see, it is a constant link. That's why it's called saturated, because every carbon is saturated with a hydrogen molecule. Now, if you look here at the mono, we have the same type of a connection, but there is one, which is why it's called mono. So there is one double link. And every time you have a double link of a carbon in between each other, it makes it very unstable. But we'll get to that in a minute. With the poly means many. In this type of fat, we have a lot of these double linked connections. So basically the carbon is connected to a hydrogen, but then there is a double link in between the two carbons. What does that mean? It means that they share electrons. So I'll explain in just a little bit in details. It's a little bit complicated. But I wanted to give you an examples of what's a saturated and unsaturated, the mono and the poly. Saturated fats is coconut oil, palm oil, butter, ghee, lard, beef tallow. Unsaturated mono is olive oil, avocado, macadamia nut oil, peanut oil. Unsaturated poly is sunflower oil, canola, corn, soybean, safflower, grapeseed, corn oil, all vegetable oils. The unsaturated, especially the polyunsaturated fats, because they have so many double links in that chain of fatty acids, it makes them very easy for that bond to be broken and therefore to get oxidized. Once it's oxidized, it releases a lot of free radicals, and these free radicals basically destroy our cells. So I'm going to pause the video and then I'm going to give you a very detailed explanation of how the process works. All right, I'm back. So what I have drawn here is basically an example of what a polyunsaturated fat chain of carbons looks like. So as you can see, every carbon is connected to a hydrogen, and you have one single connection. But in the polyunsaturated fats, so this here is a polyunsaturated fat, there are many double bonds in between the connections. Now, what does that mean? Each of this carbon has to have 8 electrons. So here you have 2, here we have 2 electrons, and here we have 1, 2, but this second one is shared with this carbon. So here you're going to have 1, here we have 2, here we have 2, and here you have 1. So as you can see, instead of this molecule here to have 8 electrons, basically it shares with the carbon that's right next to it. So what happens is, let's say that you're cooking with this oil or you're just keeping it outside, right? It gets oxidized, meaning the oxygen comes in and breaks that bond, the double bond, because it's a very weak chain link. So if you can imagine a chain link, right, that you're use to lock your door or whatever. One of those chains, imagine that it's like very loose, right? So it's a very weak spot, and you pull on it and it will break. It's the same thing. But what breaks it here is not a teeth, it is the oxygen. So the oxygen comes in and breaks that double bond, that chain. So once that chain here is broken, now we have this carbon and this carbon, each with 3 pairs of electrons, right? And one that is on its own. Same thing with this one here. It has 3 pairs and one that is on its own. These ones here that are on their own are called free radicals. And the free radicals are what's causing an enormous amount of damage to our body. They are the ones that are basically causing an inflammatory response from our cells, trying to protect the body from the damage that is being caused. So how does it cause damage? First, it goes in your bloodstream and it's starting to attack your LDL, which is what's causing all the plaque buildup. From there, it goes to your cell. It starts to attack the membrane here. Once it penetrates, it goes inside and they start causing a lot of trouble inside the cytoplasm. And the most trouble is when they actually make it inside the mitochondria, because once they're inside, they can actually damage your DNA. And like I said, the bottom line is the more free radicals you have roaming around your body, the higher the inflammation that it will cause, and the more it will destroy your cells, or it can damage them. If it doesn't destroy the DNA, it will damage it, and then when the cell tries to replicate itself, it will be a little bit off, because then the DNA is damaged. So what is the best way for you to protect yourself? Obviously, you gotta take a lot of antioxidants. Which are the best antioxidants? It's basically vitamin C is one of the most powerful ones, especially intravenous, vitamin A, vitamin E. But for the mitochondria to be protected, the best thing to do is to take some of that methylene blue, and I have a video on that, so if you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it. This video became too long, but it's just so difficult to understand how exactly these fats work in our bodies and why the polyunsaturated are so dangerous. So no seed oils, stay away from them. It's very, very bad for you. All right, hope that helped. If you need any help with anything, just call me, contact me, whatever.